Howdy, guys, and welcome to Cliff Notes, and welcome to night number 72 of the Overnight Feed recaps for Big Brother Season 26. A good Sunday morning to all of y'all. All right, yesterday we kind of another chill day in the house, chill night, but we did have the veto competition, and not just any veto competition. No, we had BB Comics, one of the absolute iconic competitions. I'm so glad I got to do it. We didn't get to watch these house guests do it. We'll get to see it on one of the upcoming episodes, and we'll get to see what the comics are. But we do have some indications about what some of them are. So we're going to talk about that. The big news is we also have our veto winner for this week and the winner of BB Comics, and controlling the nominations, I suppose, for this week is Mackenzie. Yes, Mackenzie continues to dominate, continues to mark her name as a comp beast. She's talked before about she now has more comp wins than Janelle. Well, she's got one more. Now, here's what's interesting. For the first time all season, she controls everything. She controlled the HOH, the initial nomination. She controls the veto, so she controls whether someone comes on or off. She gets to then pick the renom as HOH. And there's a good chance that she would be the tiebreaker as well and actually get to decide who goes home. So all the power is resting in Mackenzie's hands. And what does she do with it? That's going to be the big question. It seems somewhat straightforward. We talked about yesterday, Chemo and Rubina on the block. Plan is to send Chemo out the door, but nothing ever quite stays the same in this house. And there were some other discussions as well that we'll get into it. All right, let's talk about the veto competition first, because that really was the key part of the entire day. Apparently, the competition, Mackenzie finished in first place. She finished in about 13 minutes, which pretty good time there, Mackenzie. Chelsea came in second place, finished in about 16 minutes. Chemo and Rubina, not really sure how they did, but they finished in third and fourth place. And we got to talk about Cam. Cam, the Division I football athlete, finished his BB comic competition in 0 minutes because he timed out. Apparently, he was given 30 minutes to complete his BB comic. He didn't finish. Now, he says later that, I think he said he took a break around minute 25. I think his back was hurting or something. He took a little break. He got done at the 33rd minute, but since it was already past 30, the time didn't count. So Cam officially timed out. Cam finished in last place on this veto competition. We got some people not real happy about, which we'll cover. All right, let's talk about the comics themselves. Now, we have not seen the comics. We don't know what they look like. This is just when the feeds came back, and the feeds were out. I think the feeds were out till around 5 o'clock or so, Big Brother time. So about 6 hours, I think, if I recall, the feeds were out. But when we get the feeds back, the house guests are talking about a lot of the comics. We got more information a little bit later in the evening. So let's talk about, as much as we can, what the comics at least were, with theme of each of the house guest comics. Matt's comic was Crazy Eyes. Yeah, that kind of makes sense, right? Crazy Eyes Matt was his. Lisa was Glitter Critter. That also seems to make sense. Kenny was Sweet Kenny K Sausage. I'll be curious to see what that one looks like. Cedric's was Young Cedric. Apparently, it's something like barely legal, always lethal was his little tagline. So far, everything we've heard, pretty much what we would have expected if we had to guess. Brooklyn, I love Brooklyn's. Brooklyn's was the charcuterie. How do you say it, right? Charcuterie board? Charcuterie thief was Brooklyn. So, God, I gotta say, if I'm Brooklyn, I think it's pretty funny, but if I'm Brooklyn, I'd be a little perturbed that my BB comic was reflecting one single thing that happened in the Big Brother house that really is more about Angela in some ways, or very focused on Angela rather than yourself. But Brooklyn is a charcuterie thief. Tucker apparently is the AI instigator. And so, yeah, I'm not sure what the comic will look like on it, but AI instigator. Joseph, I don't really know much about. Something about the year 2001, which was the start of Big Brother. So I don't know, maybe something about being a super fan. Just don't really know. But reflecting back maybe on some earlier years. Quinn was Quinsanity, apparently it had him in a straitjacket and maybe had something to do with his sleepwalking, standing over people at one point in the season. So Quinsanity for Quinn. T-Core, I love this one. Without even seeing a picture, I think this is a great play on words. T-Core was Crow Slay. Yeah, not crochet. Crow Slay was hers. Good job, writers. I really like that one. Leah's was Chubby Chaser. We'll see what the comic looks like on that. Angela was Atomic Mother. Chemo's was Vol Chemo. He lives in Hawaii. They've got volcanoes there. He's Vol Chemo. Get it? Yeah. He's got that one. Rubina was Roller Rebel. I didn't even realize that until I listened to a conversation between Rubina and Chemo later, but apparently Rubina does a lot of roller skating. How did I not know that until tonight? Apparently I missed out. So she was the Roller Rebel, Rubina on roller skates. Cam, another good one. Cam was the Chameleon. Something about disappears, or sometimes you can't even see him, or something like that. So yeah, kind of making fun of the fact that Cam's not always seeming to be the biggest presence in the Big Brother house. So we got Chameleon. Chelsea was the Microsoft chip, reflecting all the way back to the very first week when she was the mascot of a chip. So she's the mascot chip. And then finally, Mackenzie, I kind of like Mackenzie's as well. Mackenzie was the Mech Enzi robot, and apparently a big robot of some sort that was Mech Enzi. Yeah, these puns. Yeah, dad. It goes right with my dad jokes and all that. So there you have it. Again, we haven't seen pictures from any of them. Such a cool deal. Such a cool memento to get as part of Big Brother. I still have mine. The groundhog. You'll never see him coming and all of that. Tom Wynn is the guy artist who painted my BB comic. It's probably the most cool thing I've got from my time in the Big Brother house. So we did get BB comics for all 16 of them. And again, Mackenzie won the thing and won it pretty well. All right, so let's talk about the feeds themselves, because there were a couple of conversations worth talking about. Before the veto competition itself, Houseguest got Krispy Kreme and Starbucks for breakfast. We never got any of that. Oh, I'm a coffee drinker. I would have, and I've been no need a donut or two as well. I would have been in seventh heaven. I would have been in hog heaven. Yeah. Yeah, they got Krispy Kreme and Starbucks for their breakfast to prep them, to get them all fired up for the BB comics. Apparently, at some point the lights went off, maybe in the whole Big Brother house. I'm not sure, but it sounds like maybe the lights were still off in the HOH room. So Mackenzie was locked out of the room for a while, not real happy about that. Also, apparently, when the lights went off, it tweaked the clock on, I guess, their microwave. So they weren't even really sure what time it was for a little bit. But yeah, lights went out for a little bit. Yeah, little power bills. You got to keep up with those, Big Brother. But anyway, they had lights off for a little bit. Feeds went out around 11 o'clock or so, 11:15. They didn't come back on until around 5 o'clock. That's a long competition to do. It truly is. But they only had 5 people, 30 minutes each. That works out to 2.5 hours. But you guys set up in between and all of that. So anyway, feeds back around 5 o'clock. We saw all the house guests talking about the competition and describing comic books and everything. And at this point and throughout the evening into later, the longest diary room session I ever had in a Big Brother house was right after BB Comics. I was called in and was asked to comment on all 16 of the comics there. Each and every one of them, a few little verbiages here and there, and make some jokes or talk about how accurate they are. I think every house guest probably was going to be asked the same questions, describe all the different ones. It just makes for a long diary room session. But yeah, we saw the house guests talking about the comp. All right, let's talk about a pretty important little conversation here. Right after the feeds come back, we've got Chelsea and Mackenzie talking. They are not happy with Cam. No, sirree. Yeah, the fact that he did not even complete the competition has rubbed both of these two ladies the wrong way. Mackenzie is wondering if maybe he just threw this competition. How did he not win this? Not win. How did he not even complete the competition in 30 minutes? She thinks there's just something going on with it. So she's thinking he threw the competition. Chelsea is saying, we've been carrying Cam all season long. He hasn't done anything to help out his own cause. We've been carrying him the entire game and just kind of tired of it. They are worried. They're both agreeing that he has been throwing comps. They think he may have thrown this comp. And is he doing it and then going to follow up by putting the two of them on the block and maybe betray them, flip on them? That is certainly a concern they've got because they just don't know what's going through his head, that he isn't trying to win some of these competitions. Mackenzie at one point debates on the idea of using the veto to pull Rubina off the block and putting Cam up in her place as a little bit of a punishment. Remember, we heard her tell Rubina that she was going to do that. So she is talking about potentially doing that when she talks to Chelsea. And Chelsea, she's not really committing one way or the other, it doesn't seem like, with it. Chelsea is saying that, hey, we can't count on Cam. Whatever. He's not going to do anything to help us out. So I need to win the next HOH. And then Mackenzie, either you or I need to win Veto. If I can win the next HOH, then I'm safe. I go to the final three. You win Veto, and then you're safe, and you get to decide. Well, it's Chelsea, so we get to decide. I get to decide who you're going to save with that veto and who goes home. So, yeah, she's saying I'm going to win HOH. You or I need to win the veto so that we can control this game for just a little bit longer. Chelsea does mention that she's a little bit worried that Cam could potentially align with Rubina, that Rubina would take Cam over either Mackenzie or Chelsea. So they've got to be worried about that. They're trying to consolidate last possible moment, a few loose ends and such, and that loose end being Cam. So not happy with Cam, both from a game standpoint, but also just wondering maybe where his head's at with this last week or two. All right, we've got Chelsea later talking to the fish upstairs and maybe talking to the cameras a little bit as well, but theoretically talking to the fish. She's saying that she thinks that Cam is probably playing her, that he can't be trusted anymore because he's just doing something a little crazy going on or a little suspicious. And she says, there just might be a crazy move coming up. She says tomorrow, but I think she probably means Monday. There just might be a crazy move coming up. Is that crazy move just putting Cam up and maybe getting his attention with that? Or is it actually sending Cam out the door, which some people may think would be an interesting idea as well? I think probably she's talking more about just putting Cam on the block, pulling Rubina off, would theoretically get Cam's attention pretty quickly, right? You would think so. So she's saying, yeah, it could be a crazy move coming up. Later, she tells herself, I can't remember what, maybe in the rock bed, I don't know. She says again, basically to the cameras and to herself, says, I've been carrying this entire game. There's some other people have done a bit here and there, Chelsea, but I will say that you certainly strategically have manipulated and carried and plotted and done a lot of things to really control the narrative for a lot of this game so far. So yeah, she's acknowledging that she's done a lot in this game so far. All right, we've got Chelsea and Rubina and Chemo talking. Chelsea's asking about Rubina and Tucker and their showmance and their first kiss and about them deciding to come out to everyone else about their showmance and all that. No game talk, just chit chat going on with that. But still talking about Tucker inside the Big Brother house. All right, we've got Mackenzie and Rubina talking a little bit. Mackenzie is saying that Cam could win the season without even winning any comps. Remember, Dr. Will did that a while back. Is Cam and Dr. Will the same kind of player? Yeah, no, not really, not even close. But Mackenzie is saying that, you don't necessarily have to win a lot of competitions in order to win Big Brother. It's not all about the competitions. I think Mackenzie's doing two things here with Rubina. One, she's trying to downplay the fact that she is now the comp beast of the house that has won the most competitions. It's not just who wins the most competitions, Rubina, who wins Big Brother. Don't be thinking about that because you wouldn't want to go to the end with me if that was the case, right? So, yeah, she didn't say all that. I think that's just the implication is it's not all about comp wins. So certainly covering herself a little bit. But also I think it's a matter of painting Cam as the target of, Cam could win this thing. Don't think that you could easily beat him, Rubina, just because he hasn't won anything. He could still win it all. So don't be thinking that you're going to take him instead of one of us two ladies being Chelsea and Mackenzie. I think that's what she's getting at with this conversation. All right, we've got Chelsea alone talking again. When you only have 5 people in the house, it becomes a lot easier to have private moments where it's just you and the cameras and a couple million people. Chelsea's alone talking again. She's thinking that Mackenzie could use the veto on Rubina and put Cam up, which Mackenzie's talked about. Not as a pawn, though, but potentially as a target. She says, Chelsea's really mad enough, but maybe she would just go ahead and put him up, and if it was a tiebreaker, send him on out the door. So she is talking about that. She's saying that that Cam got beat by Chemo, and something is just incredibly fishy with that. You should have told that to the fish when you're talking earlier. But yeah, Sandra, incredibly fishy that Cam could not even beat Chemo in the zip line BB comic type competition of all competitions. Cam was talking about, I'm just ready for the physical competitions. Well, here you go, Cam. There was a little skill, mental element as well, finding the differences. And maybe he was just amazing on the zip line and the running and everything else, and just couldn't figure out the differences between comics. I don't know. We don't know yet. But she said, he couldn't even beat Chemo. How bad is that? She does say that she doesn't think that Mackenzie would go after her this week, but she does mention it. She says, assuming I'm still here, Mackenzie could send me home this week. She's a little bit worried about that. She hopes that someone might, if it came down to it, that say Rubina or Chemo or Cam might take Chelsea over Mackenzie, because with this extra couple of wins, Mackenzie is now certainly seen as a bigger comp threat than Chelsea is. So she's saying maybe that's the positive side of Cam throwing it and just relying on us the whole time. But she's also worried that Mackenzie would be hard to beat in the final two because she has all these extra comp victories. So yet more reason that Mackenzie may not really be the best choice for Chelsea in Chelsea's eyes as far as who to take to the final two. Chelsea is saying that Mackenzie won't make big moves while she's HOH, but Chelsea, on the other hand, she'll make big moves, not through HOH. She'll make big moves through her words and through her influence. And I think she's kind of proven that is indeed the case. I thought that was a great saying from her. All about her words and influence. That's how she controls the game. All right, we've got Chelsea and Cam talking to one another. Chelsea's kind of calling Cam out, saying, what is going on with you? She says, Chelsea's telling Cam, first of all, she's spilling the beans. She's throwing Mackenzie under the bus. She said, just so you know, we're not real. She didn't say we. She's very much blaming all of this on Mackenzie. She's not taking any credit for any criticism of Cam at all. She's saying, just so you know, Mackenzie's very upset with you that you didn't do better in that veto competition. And she is actually considering putting you up in Rubina's place just because she's mad at how you performed on this. So very much throwing Mackenzie under the bus at this point. Remember, at one point, Cam had said if he won HOH, Rubina would go on the block, and then he would maybe do rock, paper, scissors to determine whether it was going to be Chelsea or Mackenzie going up as the pawn. Well, I feel like Chelsea's doing a lot to make it so that you probably don't have to do rock, paper, scissors. She's trying to drive a little bit of a wedge between Cam and Mackenzie in case it does come to that. So she's telling him all about Mackenzie considering putting him on the block as punishment for not doing better in the competition. She's telling Cam she doesn't think that Mackenzie will do it. Doesn't know for certain, but she doesn't think that she'll do that. Cam is he's smiling the whole time. He is acting so nonchalant about this news. He says, I'm not worried because that would be a really dumb move on MJ's part to do something about that. Well, it hadn't stopped Mackenzie in the past, so why should it stop you now? Stop her now, Cam. But he's thinking it'd be a dumb move, so there's no way that Mackenzie would do it. I feel like that kind of just pushes her that much more to do it. But he doesn't act like it's actually a concern of his whatsoever. She does call Cam out for throwing the comp. He says, I did not throw the comp. He says, my back was hurting or I was a little sore or whatever. But yeah, I did take a little break at 25 minutes, but I did finish in 33. I was giving it everything I had. And he says a few things. He says, Division I football and zip lines and reading comics, they're not the same. So I can be good at one, and that doesn't mean I'm good at the other one. Chelsea had some fantastic comments and quotes during this conversation. She said at one point, she says, Cam, She said, you couldn't even beat Chemo. Chemo, the person who gets tired and winded just walking down the stairs, and you couldn't beat him. So yeah, he was. She's a little suspicious of that. She tells him at one point. She says, "So let me just get it straight with you, Cam. What kind of competitions are your specialties or are your good ones?" And Cam says, "Well, I don't know if there's any good ones." And she says, "Well, so in other words, you're bad at all competitions, right, Cam?" Well, that would seem to be the case. So yeah, she's really reading him the ninth degree on that with everything. Now, eventually, he's smiling all the way through. He's denying it. Eventually, at the end, they start laughing and everything else. And I just feel like, as we've seen with so many other arguments between these two, they talk until they run out of steam, and then they start smiling and laughing. And next thing you know, it's all water under the bridge, which in the real world is probably not a bad thing. In the Big Brother house, it's a little bit of a letdown every time it happens. So yeah, by the time we get done with this, I just feel like Chelsea is not wanting Cam to go on the block. She's not wanting anyone except Chemo to go home. That was just her kind of pumping up Mackenzie a little bit. And it's more about throwing Mackenzie under the bus to Cam more than anything else. I don't think she's going to encourage Mackenzie to do it, which means probably at the end of the day, Mackenzie's not going to do it. And it'll be Rubina and Chemo on the block at the end of it. But they certainly had the conversation. All right. Meanwhile, while they're talking about fairly important things, we've got Chemo and Rubina hiding outside the storage room, waiting for Cam and Chelsea to come out so they can scare the two of them. So yeah, maybe that's a good overview of this entire season. Cam and especially Chelsea inside talking strategy, Chemo and Rubina just lollygagging around and trying to scare them when they come out, and not at all worried about the fact that they're both on the block and one of them very well could be going home this week. All right, finally, we've got Chemo and Rubina up for a long conversation in the kitchen. Oh my gosh, they start probably 11 o'clock or so. They probably talk for, I want to say a couple of hours, close to it. Long conversation in the kitchen. Everyone else is already in bed. These two are up, long conversation. They're talking about past relationships, their exes, what went well, what didn't go well, living with parents, a lot of that kind of talk. Chemo did talk a little bit about his growing up and some issues with losing family members. He lost a brother, I think, when he said he was 9, and some abandonment issues. And it's not that this was just chit chat. It was some serious conversation, but it was not game conversation. But talking about that a little bit, talking about life outside the house. Hey, I learned that Rubina roller skates, which again, maybe y'all all know, but I didn't. So talking about that, talking about Rubina has a manager for some of the, I guess, advertising campaigns she's done. Talking to Chemo about getting a manager as well. She talks about that if she had a camera inside the house, she'd have so much content that she thinks that Chemo could just have a TikTok channel with nothing but just him acting regular all the time, and he could be a TikTok superstar. So a lot of that kind of conversation, just what's life going to be like in the future versus what life's been like in the past, and where have we grown so far, and those kind of conversations that you tend to have in the middle of the night. And with that, guys, it looked like everyone was going to bed around 3:15 or so. They migrated into the bathroom, Chemo and Rubina, and it looked like they were getting ready for bed. It's been an incredibly long day for me. I don't think there's any more strategic talk that's going to take place. It looked like they were calling it a night. So I'm calling a little bit of an early night as well. So here it is at 3:30 in the morning, Houston time, 1:30 Big Brother time. I think the conversations are done for the day, so we're going to call it good as well. The main summary, Mackenzie has won the veto. She controls everything this week. We'll just see if she keeps the control or she lets Chelsea make some of the decisions instead. And we did get 16 BB comics, and for the most part, without having actually seen the pictures, somewhat predictable, but there's some funny ones in there as well. And then another season with BB comics is always cool. Guys, have a fantastic Sunday. If any other conversations come up, maybe I'll add it on to the end of this video, but I think we're probably good. Have a great Sunday. We've got an episode tomorrow night. If I recall, the episode doesn't start until like 9:30 Central Time. So what's that, 10:30 Eastern Time? It's going to be a late night episode. But we will have a taped episode tomorrow night of Big Brother. And then I'll be back Monday morning to give you the update on what may have happened. See if any of this stuff takes seed and it takes root, and or else it's just going to be chemo and Urbina as expected. We'll find out. I'll talk to you on Monday about that. Until then, my friends, SKD 143, cheers. Have a great day. See you later, my friends. Bye.